There's at least one preseason favorite to be a Super Bowl contender chugging along at 4-2 that might not even have fathomed that there is a perfectly reasonable path for them to miss the playoffs. Time for a look at the NFC heading into Week 7. The calculations come from the Playoff Computer app. Check it out for your fantasy football leagues or just about any head-to-head league. All sorts of geeky data. And you can even do your own analysis of the NFL. Do what-ifs of your favorite team to your heart's content. And for an entire year, the premium level is about the price of one beer. Let's update the interconference records before we go into the teams. The NFC lightened up the punches a bit and only went 4-3 in Week 6. Still, there are more wins spread around in the NFC, so that naturally may elevate the number of wins needed for a wild card spot. Maybe more importantly, while there are 5 teams in the AFC at 1 win or fewer, there is only one such team in the NFC, so it is turning into a lights-out bare-knuckle brawl in the NFC. Anyway, let's go through the teams, starting with the NFC team with the highest statistical chance to make the playoffs, which is now. Baker kept on cooking, and the Buccaneers are the only one-loss team in the NFC, with a head-to-head win over their closest competitor in the division, a nice 3-1 conference record, and now 2 head-to-head wins over 2 of the likely playoff contenders from the NFC West. They now have about an 8-10 chance to make the playoffs. The only thing that didn't go their way in Week 6 is that the Falcons and now even the Panthers have joined them in winning the last 2 to maybe make this a bit of a division battle. And the other only thing that didn't go their way was losing their breakout star wide receiver to injury. In what should be fireworks in Ford Field, they play the Lions this week and then the Saints before their bye. Both away games, so nothing is certain, but look out if they manage to beat the Lions. The 49ers were on the receiving end of the bake-off and lost more players to injuries in the process. Still, they are in first place in the NFC West, holding the tiebreaker over the Seahawks and Rams, who are also 4-2. Don't have the worst remaining schedule on paper, but not a pushover one either. Falcons come into town riding high on their recent success. Bijan versus CMC should be another exciting game. The difference, of course, between 5-2 or 4-3 in the crowded NFC contenders field is huge. The Philadelphia Eagles dropped their second in a row. The latest 2, well, basically Cam Scatabo. Fortunately for them, the Commanders and Cowboys also lost, so they didn't lose ground in the NFC East. Still close to 50-50 to take that, but now down to around 6 of 10 to make the playoffs. Have a big conference game this week versus the Vikings. And fun fact I noticed, all of their non-division conference games have been or are against teams that are currently above 500 and thus knee-deep in the playoff race. So far, they have what could be big tiebreaker wins over the Rams and the Bucs for seeding among division winners, or if the wheels come off for wildcard spots. A win over the Vikings would add another as well to get them above the mosh pit. The Green Bay Packers have taken over the lead in the NFC North by percentage points after finally beating Joe Flacco this year. Again, with the earlier tie against the Cowboys, their tiebreaker stats are going to be meaningless unless there are more ties to come or they end up tied with the Cowboys. Right now we have all four teams in the division above 500 and separated by a mere half game top to bottom. Packers at around 1-3 to win the division and 57% to make the playoffs. They do get the imploding Cardinals this week, although it is in Arizona. Hopefully for them, they aren't getting ahead of themselves and thinking about next week's game against Aaron. The Seahawks come up next, keeping the Jaguars under wraps and improving to 4-2. While the general consensus is that 9 wins would at least give a team hope for a spot, the computer says the Seahawks are one of a few who need to get to 10 wins to have much of a chance, meaning they still need to play out on the right side of 500 for the rest of the way. In what is another big game, they host the Texans, who are essentially in must-win territory to get back into the AFC playoff race. And again, 5-2 or 4-3 in the NFC after this week is like going into battle with a tank or a Yugo. Lions fans, cover your ears for the next minute or two. After losing the game and their composure against the Chiefs, the Lions find themselves in another NFC North battle royale. Mathematical odds above 50-50 to make the playoffs. Right in the division race, right? No problem. Dan Campbell, Goff, Gibbs, St. Brown. That's all they should need, right? Listen to this. Their remaining schedule has just 2 teams currently below 500. And those 2 are the Giants. I don't think anyone wants to go head-to-head against Scatterbow right now. Sorry for the pun. And the other is the Cowboys, who are certainly capable of winning by sheer offensive production alone. So here we go. Buccaneers are on fire, but Lions at home. And I think the Lions could probably win that. Come back from their bye against the Vikings, also at home. Think the Lions should probably win that as well. So that would put them 6-2. All good. Play the Commanders and Eagles on the road. That could be 2 losses. Get the hard-headed Giants at home. Should be able to win that. Packers and Cowboys. Let's say they split those. Rams on the road. I'll plug in a loss. That would be 8-6, hypothetically, which right now, if I feed that to the computer, is 6 out of 10 to make the playoffs, with a finishing schedule of Steelers, Vikings, and Bears, the last 2 on the road to division opponents, and 9-8 at this point is shaky ground. So if you want a preseason Super Bowl favorite to bet against making the playoffs, there is the case. Okay, Lions fans, welcome back. As I was saying, all is good and the Lions have not a worry in the world. Currently holding the 7th spot are the Los Angeles Rams, 4-2, but they have yet to beat a team from the NFC. 0-2 in the conference. They are getting all their interconference games out of the way as they play the Jaguars this week before their bye in London without Puka. Interesting game. Kind of see who are these teams. Right now, the Rams of those two conference losses, find themselves at the bottom of the 4-2 teams in the odds department, barely above 50% to make the playoffs. And once again, either go 5-2 or 4-3. So Arthur Smith didn't think Bijan was him, huh? The Falcons, with an impressive victory over the Bills, has got to put them on the optimism train, even though right now they're outside a playoff berth. 3-2, division odds hurt by already losing to the Buccaneers and the Panthers, just 17%. Playoff odds mathematically still below 50-50. Do have a tough game in San Francisco this week, but do have 2 games to play against the Saints, along with a game against the imploding Dolphins, as well as the already imploded Jets. Oh, and the also imploding Cardinals. So that should be 5 wins, meaning they should just need to find 2 more against the rest of the field. That is the theory anyway. Another team around the bubble is the Minnesota Vikings, who came back from their bye at 3-2 to face the Eagles, Chargers, and Lions as part of a remaining schedule with 8 teams currently above 500. They are likely going to need some upset wins in there. And again, as it stands now, computer says they need to get to 10 wins, which is looking like a tall order with that schedule. The Bears won their 3rd in a row on the foot of Jake Moody to get above 500 and join the NFC North Contenders Club. Like the Vikings, probably need to get to 10 wins, which means going 7-5 the rest of the way. Unlike the Vikings, have a somewhat easier schedule on paper to do it, at least coming up. They are absolutely going to need to feast while they can. Saints this week, then Ravens, Bengals, and Giants. All winnable games, but also all perfectly losable games against some pissed off opponents. Sitting at just above 4-10 to make the playoffs. Really cannot afford to lose to the Saints at home. So somehow the Panthers have re-entered the chat. A Rico revenge game against the Cowboys puts them at even Steven. Being that they beat the Falcons and have a 2-1 conference record, their odds are right around 4-10 as well. And they get to play the Jets this week, so we will reserve a place for them in this conversation next week. Still have 2 games to play with the Saints, but that is the end of the good news in the remaining schedule. Bills, Packers, Falcons, 49ers, Rams, Buccaneers, Seahawks, and Buccaneers again. Enjoy the winning streak while it lasts. The Commanders had the tables turned on them by the Bears, and that has put them in a little bit of trouble. While they are 3-3, now 1-3 in the conference with losses to the Falcons and Bears, that might be crucial at playoff choosing time. Now a huge game against the Cowboys in which the loser will be in a world of hurt. Then Chiefs, Seahawks, and Lions. They're going to need to somehow split these next 4. Otherwise, 4-6 would put them to around a 15% chance. Stop me if you've heard this before. The Cowboys have potentially had their season unravel after a loss to the Panthers. 2-3-1 has just a 1-4 chance. Have the big game against the Commanders at home, then Broncos and Cardinals, If they can come out of it at 4-4 and 1, at least they would have a spitting chance. The Giants have at least become entertaining, and a fun win over the Eagles gives them hope, but still 2-4. Tough remaining schedule. Their next 7 opponents are all currently above 500, so it might take more than trying to just run through people. It must be time change season because the sun is setting early for the once 2-0 Cardinals, down to around 1-5 chances. Also have a tough schedule. Must win against the Packers this week to have any sort of reasonable chance. The Saints bring up the rear after losing to the Patriots to fall to 1-5. I think they'll still surprise some people, but I don't think they have 9 surprises in them. That's it for now. Check out the Playoff Computer app for your fantasy or other league playoff race analysis needs, and enjoy your day.